Hi again. Here we're out in some more grain trials. This one looks a little bit different than our rye trial. You can probably see it's a little bit weedy, quite a bit of lamb's quarter growing out in these plots. What we're looking at here is no-till wheat. And this wheat was no-tilled early this spring. It was actually no-tilled April 6th. I believe, or maybe April 7th. Let me just try, April 8th. Way off. April 8th. And it was no-tilled into plots that had different cover crops that were grown the prior fall. So you can see here, here's the data from last fall. We had cover crops of millet, Sudan grass, barley. We had a cover crop mixture that had oats and tillage radish and crimson clover, and then we had a cover crop of forage oats. Okay, so those different cover crops were growing out here in this field. We measured how much biomass, how much cover crop yield there was last fall, and you can see that the barley, the mixture cover crops, and the oats had some of the highest yields, with the millet having the lowest yield, and of course the control that had no cover crop even lower. It just had weeds growing there. So essentially we're trying to find what cover crop helps protect the soil, build soil structure, and then hopefully provide weed control the following year to the wheat. So you probably don't notice too much difference out here in the amount of weeds, but there certainly are some subtle differences. And actually there were some plots that were so weedy, like the one I'm standing in right now, no grain grew. So it's actually already been mowed out. The Sudan grass and the millet are cover crops that we've planted here that don't seem to provide much weed control to the following crop. But oats, other small grains like barley, and this mixture seem to suppress weeds far better than the millet and the Sudan grass. So let's look at some data from past years. All right. So here's the wheat yields from, this was in 2018. We've done this trial for a few years. Okay. And the wheat yield after no cover crop, millet, Sudan grass, or even a cover crop of wheat were below 100 pounds yield. So obviously they didn't do a great job at either creating a really good soil or environment or suppressing weeds. But wheat grown following the forage oats or a mixture of forage oats with clover and tillage radish provided a wheat yield, although still poor, of over 600 pounds. So we continue to investigate to figure out, can we grow no-till grains, small grains, in Vermont? And can we grow cover crops the season before to be able to make sure that we can suppress weeds and create a healthy soil environment to produce high-yielding small grains? So this is the data from last year. So folks saw these plots if you came to the field day last year. And what you can see here is that the yields, regardless of the cover crop, were really good. They were all over a ton of wheat per acre, regardless of the cover crop, except for the control. So the cover crops, regardless, again, of the cover crop, seem to help improve yield. The weed density, as you can see, was low in all plots except for those that didn't have any cover crop. So again, no-till grain can be successful. It seems like at this point from our data, growing a cover crop helps to improve the yields of that no-till grain. But what cover crop works the best? And I think the verdict is still out on that. Because in one year, oats worked the best. And in another year, it didn't matter. And this year, clearly, oats is also working the best, where cover crop of Sudan grass, which is in front of us, has done very poorly. So with any research that we do, we look for longer term trends. And showing you that one year something does this and another year acts completely different isn't very helpful to a farmer. So that's why we continue to repeat these studies over many years to get a better understanding of what we should be recommending to growers to do to produce successful crops every year. So again, we should be harvesting this here in the next week, and keep your eyes peeled for the research results on our website. As I mentioned, it's been a great year for grain, really dry, but it's actually been a bit too dry in some regions, and the dryness is impacting diseases and also yields and heading of the plant. So I've gotten quite a few calls over the last couple of weeks about this black kind of mold on the outside of the grain heads, and it's called sooty mold, and it actually occurs when there's stress in the crop, or can occur when there's stress in the crop, and it's kind of like a black powdery fungus. It does impact the seed of the plant, and so either these seeds may really be shriveled up or really almost non-existent. You can see there's nothing really in this head that's impacted. So you can see the grain is very shriveled up and obviously not viable. Okay, so this sooty mold essentially is a result of stress, sometimes barley mosaic virus, but in our case this year it's because of dry weather and drought stress. Not just dry, but drought. And so if you're seeing this out in your field, there's not much you can do. Likely when you combine it, most of this is going to blow out of the back of the combine anyway, so it won't show up with the rest of your grain that is higher quality. If you have large patches of it, you may just choose not to harvest it at all. It can be really dusty when when the disease is really extreme, and again, bad air quality for you combining, and the grain's not worth anything anyway. So just if you're noticing this out in your field, thought I would bring that up. All right.